Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Dreams. Today, we're diving into another thrilling installment of our fanfiction series. What if Naruko became an ANBU captain? Part 3. Disclaimer: this channel is dedicated to entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Time skip, 3 years. A lone figure strolled through the bustling streets of Konoha, drawing little attention from the civilians preoccupied with their daily routines. This individual stood at approximately 4 feet 9 inches, clad in a black t-shirt and blue pants. Fingerless metallic gloves covered her hands, and black sandals completed her attire. A black face mask concealed most of her face, while her untamed blonde hair swayed gently in the breeze, with 2 bangs falling over her masked visage. While many villagers did not recognize her, a few shinobi who did chose to let her pass without interruption. This person was none other than Naruko Hatake. 3 years had passed since she awakened her Sharingan and embarked on her journey to become a shinobi. 2 years ago, she joined the Ninja Academy alongside her friends, and her training had been progressing exceptionally well. Naruko discovered that she had a natural affinity for ninjutsu, excelling in its application. Under Kakashi's guidance, she learned several powerful techniques, honing her skills whenever he was available between missions. Her most remarkable accomplishment in ninjutsu was her mastery of water release techniques. She demonstrated an extraordinary ability to learn and execute Suiten-based jutsu with remarkable speed. While she made progress in other elemental jutsu, earth release remained a challenge beyond her grasp. Her Sharingan had fully matured, now bearing 3 tomoe in each eye. It was during an intense sparring session with Kakashi that she unlocked the final stage of her Sharingan. Kakashi had commended her, acknowledging the significant milestone she had achieved. Naruko's taijutsu had also seen immense improvement. Kakashi introduced weighted training into her regimen, not excessively heavy, but progressively increasing over time. Additionally, he taught her elements of the Uchiha's intercepting fist, a style that emphasized speed and reading an opponent's movements. With her Sharingan, this style suited her perfectly. Genjutsu, however, remained a difficult area for Naruko. Due to her vast chakra reserves, precise chakra control was a struggle. While her control had improved significantly over time, it was still insufficient for mastering complex genjutsu. Nonetheless, her Sharingan granted her a unique advantage: she could easily dispel illusions by seeing through them. Interestingly, Naruko's Sharingan differed slightly from the standard version. Unlike others, her Sharingan had an innate ability to cast exceptionally realistic genjutsu, so convincing that only highly skilled shinobi or genjutsu specialists could break free from them. This unique talent compensated for her difficulties in learning conventional genjutsu techniques. Recognizing her potential, Kakashi trained her in using her Sharingan to subtly influence and hypnotize opponents. He even remarked that, with time, she could surpass the likes of Itachi and Shisui Uchiha in genjutsu proficiency. Despite the challenges of her journey, Naruko found happiness in her training and the bonds she had formed. Among those who cared for her despite her status as a Jinchuriki, one person, in particular, had left a lasting impression on her. Thinking of this individual brought a warm smile to Naruko's face. Flashback, 1 year ago. Deep within the Forest of Death, Kakashi and Naruko engaged in their routine training session. Her progress was undeniable. Her strength, speed, and tactical awareness had improved considerably, allowing her to analyze opponents and formulate counterattacks with increasing efficiency. "Alright, Nisan, what are you going to teach me today?" Naruko asked eagerly, anticipation evident in her voice. "Today, I'm going to teach you a variation of the shadow clone technique," Kakashi responded. "A variation?" Naruko echoed, tilting her head in curiosity. "Yes, this technique is called Raiden Cage Bunshine, Lightning Release, Shadow Clone. It functions similarly to a regular shadow clone, allowing it to perform jutsu, but it is composed of lightning chakra," Kakashi explained. "Let me demonstrate its potential. First, create 2 shadow clones and send them toward me." Naruko swiftly formed two clones and directed them toward Kakashi. In response, Kakashi created a clone of his own, which immediately engaged with Naruko's clones. As the first clone launched a punch toward Kakashi's clone, he effortlessly sidestepped the attack. Reacting swiftly, Kakashi's clone attempted a counter kick, but the second Naruko clone intercepted it, firmly grabbing his leg to prevent further movement. Seizing the opportunity, the first clone leapt into the air, executing a precise roundhouse kick aimed at Kakashi's clone, intending to land a decisive strike. Just before the kick could connect, the Kakashi clone smirked. Before Naruko's clones could even process what was happening, they were hit by a surge of electricity as the clone erupted into lightning, instantly dispelling itself along with Naruko's duplicates. Naruko winced as the memories of her defeated clones flooded her mind, while Kakashi chuckled. "That really stung, Nisan," Naruko muttered. "Now you understand the technique," Kakashi explained. "This jutsu allows the user to create a shadow clone infused with lightning. Since it's a shadow clone, it can perform techniques and physically interact with the environment. The user's chakra is evenly distributed among the clones. However, if the clone takes damage, it reverts to its natural lightning state, electrocuting anything it's in contact with. If I use this near a water source, it could be even more effective," Naruko thought to herself. "Alright, now try forming a clone infused with your lightning chakra," Kakashi started, but Naruko suddenly interrupted him. "We have company," she said firmly. Kakashi's eyes narrowed as he sensed the approaching chakra signature. Her sensory abilities have improved, he noted internally. Moments later, a young woman landed gracefully in the clearing where Naruko and Kakashi had been training. Curious, Naruko turned to get a better look at the newcomer. The first thing that stood out was her striking appearance. She was a beautiful young woman dressed in a brown trench coat over a short dark brown skirt, with a fishnet bodysuit covering the rest of her frame. Her deep purple hair added to her striking presence, and her mischievous gaze gave off an air of confidence. Naruko couldn't help but acknowledge how stunning she was, and to her embarrassment, she felt warmth rise to her face. Thankfully, her mask concealed any visible reaction. "Why am I blushing? It's not like I've never seen a pretty woman before," Naruko thought to herself, shaking off the feeling. "Oi, Kakashi, what are you doing here?" the woman asked curiously. "Anko, I should be asking you the same thing," Kakashi responded. "This is my training ground, Kakashi-kun. The real question is, what are you doing here?" Anko replied sweetly, though the tone sent an involuntary shiver down both Kakashi's and Naruko's spines. Only Anko would call this place her playground, Kakashi sighed. She's just like Nisan described, Naruko thought, recalling Kakashi's occasional stories about Anko Mitarashi, the renowned snake mistress of Konoha, known for her unpredictable nature. "I'm training my little sister," Kakashi explained, gesturing toward Naruko. Anko turned her attention to Naruko, giving her a once-over before raising an eyebrow in surprise. "This kid? She looks like a mini version of you," Anko remarked offhandedly. Naruko's eyebrow twitched slightly at the comment, but she kept her composure. Losing her temper wouldn't help in this situation. "I'm Naruko Hatake. It's a pleasure to meet you, Anko-san," she said politely, offering a respectful bow. Anko's expression shifted to one of confusion. "Wait, you're Naruko? What do you mean you're Kakashi's sister?" she asked, her voice rising slightly in disbelief. Anko was well aware of who Naruko was and the burden she carried. Unlike many villagers, she didn't harbor any resentment toward her and even sympathized with her struggles. After all, Anko herself had endured a difficult past. But the sudden revelation that Naruko was now Kakashi's sister left her completely baffled. What in the world happened? She wondered internally. Kakashi sighed before giving her a summarized explanation of how he had taken Naruko in as his sister. However, he intentionally left out certain details, such as her lineage, the Sharingan, and the specifics of her training. Anko smirked. "Didn't expect you to have a caring side, Kakashi." "Did you say something?" Kakashi asked, an amused tone in his voice. Anko crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. TCH, never mind, she muttered. That was hilarious. Naruko laughed, watching the light-hearted exchange between Kakashi and Anko. Oh, really? I bet you don't even know how to hold a kunai properly, shrimp, Anko smirked, hoping to provoke Naruko. Well then, why don't we find out? Naruko challenged confidently. Anko grinned, clearly amused, while Kakashi sighed, unsure if this was a good idea. Sure. Naruko was usually calm and composed, but she never backed down from a challenge, especially when someone underestimated her. This was also an opportunity to test her skills against someone other than Kakashi. Naruko, I don't think this is a wise decision. Anko is a jounin, just like me, Kakashi said firmly, hoping she would reconsider. I know I'm not at Anko-san's level yet, Naruko admitted, her voice filled with determination. But I want to prove that I'm not weak, and that your training has made me stronger. Anko raised an eyebrow, impressed by Naruko's response. She wasn't just rushing into a fight recklessly, she acknowledged the gap in their skill level but was still willing to challenge herself for the right reasons. Alright, just don't blame me if she pushes you to your limits, Kakashi said with a tired sigh. Thanks, Nisan, Naruko said gratefully, preparing herself for the challenge ahead. Alright, kid, since you're honest and not arrogant, let's make a little wager, Anko proposed with a smirk. What kind of wager, Anko-san? Naruko asked curiously. We'll have a sparring match. If you can hold your ground against me for 5 minutes, I'll teach you something useful, Anko explained, her tone serious. That sounds fair, but what happens if you win? Naruko asked cautiously. Then you owe me a treat, Anko said, a dreamy expression forming on her face as she imagined victory being effortless. Please don't let it be what I think it is, Kakashi thought to himself nervously. May I ask what kind of treat you have in mind, Anko-san? Naruko inquired. Dango! Anko shouted excitedly, pumping her fists into the air. Oh no! What have I gotten myself into? Naruko thought, feeling a sense of regret. Everyone in Konoha knew about Anko's obsession with Dango, it rivaled even Naruko's love for ramen. I warned you, little sister. Well, good luck, Kakashi thought with mild amusement. Kakashi then stepped forward to explain the rules. The match is straightforward. You can use any techniques, ninjutsu, genjutsu, or taijutsu. The spar will last 5 minutes unless one of you surrenders or is clearly defeated. However, no serious harm is allowed. This is just a friendly match. His tone was calm and composed. Wow, thanks for the thrilling explanation, Robo-Cyclops, Anko teased. Even Kakashi seemed slightly irritated at the nickname. Kakashi then gestured for Naruko to step aside for a moment. Naruko, I want to give you some advice before the match. He led her a short distance away from Anko before continuing. I don't want you using your shadow clones or your Sharingan during this spar. You already understand why the Sharingan is off limits, but as for the shadow clone jutsu, I want to see how well you handle yourself in direct combat without relying on them. Besides, keeping some of your abilities a secret is always a good strategy. The shadow clone jutsu is a classified technique, and I don't think it's the right time to reveal it to Anko. Understood? Got it, Nisan. I won't let you down, Naruko said confidently. Kakashi gave her a proud nod and patted her on the back. I don't doubt it. Naruko walked back to the battlefield and took a fighting stance. Alright, let's do this. Anko announced, her excitement evident. Without hesitation, she hurled a kunai at Naruko with impressive speed. Assuming it was a straightforward attack, Naruko swiftly ducked to avoid it. However, she was caught off guard when Anko suddenly appeared right in front of her and delivered a powerful punch to her face, sending her tumbling backward several feet. That kunai was just a distraction. She used it to divert my attention and close the gap so quickly. She's fast. Naruko thought as she wiped a small trickle of blood from her nose. Had enough, kid? Anko taunted with a grin. Oh, I'm just getting started, Naruko replied, a determined smile forming on her lips. Overconfident with no real skill. This should be easy, Anko thought, feeling sure of her victory. She rushed toward Naruko, aiming to end the match quickly. She swung a strong right hook at Naruko's cheek, only to be met with an unexpected counterattack. Naruko skillfully ducked under the punch and twisted her body, redirecting Anko's attack upward with a swift parry. Then, with precise timing, she delivered a powerful punch to Anko's torso, knocking the wind out of her. Before Anko could react, Naruko followed up with a sharp palm strike to her chin, sending her to the ground. Anko coughed, momentarily dazed, as she tasted blood from where her teeth had grazed her tongue. Kakashi observed with quiet pride. Impressive. She's reading Anko's movements even without using the Sharingan. Anko spat to the side, her expression shifting from surprise to amusement. All right, kid. You're better than I expected. But you're still going down. She quickly formed a series of hand signs, preparing to use one of her signature techniques. Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire style, Fireball Jutsu. Anko gathered a substantial amount of chakra and unleashed a massive fireball towards Naruko. The flames roared as they surged forward, consuming everything in their path with blistering intensity. The fireball moved at an alarming speed, closing in on Naruko, who swiftly formed a series of hand signs with remarkable precision. Suten, Suijin Heki. Water release, water encampment wall. A towering wall of water erupted around Naruko, completely encircling her and intercepting the fireball. At first, both techniques clashed with equal force, sending ripples of energy through the battlefield. However, the fireball gradually began to shrink as steam filled the air, and after a few moments, the flames dissipated entirely. Unbelievable. She created water from nothing. There's no water source nearby, how is that even possible? Anko thought, astonished by Naruko's featuring. Quickly regaining her composure, she disappeared from sight, already formulating a new strategy. Meanwhile, Naruko sharpened her senses, searching for Anko's chakra signature. Activating her sensory abilities, she detected Anko's presence in a nearby tree. Found you. Without hesitation, Naruko dashed toward Anko's position, launching an attack aimed at sweeping her feet out from under her. However, Anko reacted instantly, leaping into the air to evade. As she descended, she aimed a powerful kick toward Naruko's head, but Naruko narrowly dodged at the last second. The two engaged in an intense taijutsu battle, exchanging blows in a rapid flurry. Anko remained on the offensive, while Naruko focused on evading her attacks with impressive agility. Her taijutsu is incredible, and she hits hard, Naruko noted, feeling the sting of a few well-placed strikes. This kid is exceptional. I'm not even using my full strength, yet she's keeping up, Anko observed, mildly impressed. Realizing that she couldn't match Anko in close combat, Naruko decided to rely on her specialty, ninjutsu. Forming another rapid sequence of hand signs, she took a deep breath. Futon, Daitapa. Wind release, great breakthrough. What? Anko's eyes widened in surprise, but before she could evade, a powerful gust of wind struck her with immense force, sending her crashing into a nearby tree. The impact left a noticeable dent in the bark as she hit the ground with a thud. Naruko knew she had to press her advantage. Without wasting a moment, she quickly performed another set of hand signs, gathering a considerable amount of chakra in her lungs. Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire style, Fireball Jutsu. A massive fireball hurtled towards Anko, engulfing the area in searing flames and reducing everything in its path to ashes. Maybe I overdid it a bit, Naruko thought, breathing heavily. Just as she was about to signal for Kakashi, a sudden noise from behind made her tense. Sinayashu. Hidden shadow snake hands. Before Naruko could react, serpents shot out and coiled tightly around her body, pinning her to the ground. Looking towards where her fireball had landed, she was shocked to see a charred wooden log in place of Anko. A substitution. How careless of me. She scolded herself. Turning her gaze, she found Anko standing behind her with a sly smirk. Her clothes were singed, and light bruises adorned her hands and knees, indicating she had barely escaped the full force of the attack. "Impressive, kid. You actually managed to push me this far," Anko admitted, her tone laced with amusement. "But it's over. If you move, my snakes might get a little too excited, and trust me, their venom isn't something you'd want to experience." Naruko sighed in frustration before reluctantly conceding. "All right. I forfeit." Kakashi, who had been observing the entire battle, approached with his usual calm demeanor. "Now, Naruko, can you tell me why Anko was able to defeat you?" Naruko hesitated for a moment before replying, "Because I was too weak." "It's actually the opposite, you're indeed strong. However, Anko possesses something that you currently lack," Kakashi stated, earning a puzzled look from Naruko. "That would be experience, kid. Throughout my career, I've faced numerous shinobi in battle. Because of that, I was able to anticipate your tactics, analyze your fighting style, and counter your moves. No matter how much someone trains, real experience comes from missions and actual combat. But don't worry, you'll continue to grow," Anko reassured her. "But I still lost," Naruko admitted, her voice laced with exhaustion, struggling to accept the outcome. "Don't be discouraged. You performed remarkably well for someone your age. Always remember this, if your opponent is stronger and victory seems out of reach, sometimes the best choice is to acknowledge it. Never let pride cloud your judgment, many shinobi have fallen because of it. In some cases, losing now can lead to winning in the future," Anko explained. She then dismissed her snakes and extended a hand to Naruko, helping her up. Naruko accepted the gesture gratefully. "That was an excellent sparring match. You held your ground against Anko for a solid 4 minutes, that's more than I expected. I'm proud of you," Kakashi said with a note of admiration in his voice. "I understand. Thank you, Nisan, Anko-san, for your guidance," Naruko responded respectfully. Anko turned to Kakashi, her expression serious. "Now, Kakashi, how does she know techniques of this level? And what exactly have you been teaching her? Don't you think she's a bit young to be learning skills this advanced?" she questioned, concerned that Kakashi might be pushing Naruko beyond what was necessary for her age. "Now, Anko, I understand your concern, but Naruko has faced challenges in the village before. There have been individuals who tried to harm her, which is why Hokage-sama personally assigned me to train her for self-defense. Surely, you can understand that, right?" Kakashi explained, looking at Anko, who nodded in response. "I get that, but how is she able to perform jutsu with 3 different elemental affinities? And how in the world does she have such a strong connection to water?" Anko asked, her curiosity piqued by Naruko's impressive abilities. Kakashi then detailed Naruko's unique 4-element affinity and the rigorous training she had undergone so far. Anko let out a low whistle upon hearing this. "You're definitely an interesting one, kid. Since you've shown such skill and don't have an inflated ego about it, I'll teach you a thing or two," she offered, shocking both Kakashi and Naruko. Kakashi was particularly surprised because Anko had never been one to take on students. Ever since Orochimaru's betrayal, she had closed herself off from most people, except for her closest friend. Kakashi, being one of the few who understood her struggles, found it astonishing that she was willing to mentor Naruko. "But I lost the bet. Why would you want to train me?" Naruko asked, genuinely confused. "Well, you and I have a lot in common, and I can see that you've got potential. So, I figured I'd pass on a little knowledge. But in return, you owe me a lot of dengo for this. Also, drop the formalities, I'm not one for honorifics," Anko said with a playful smirk. Deep down, she genuinely cared for Naruko but had never been good at expressing it. This was her chance, and she decided to take it. "Thanks, Anko-chan." Naruko replied with a bright, sincere smile. "Anko-chan, huh? You've got good taste, kid. I might actually like you, Naruko," Anko teased, leaning in slightly. Naruko's face turned a light shade of red. Anko was undeniably charismatic, and her teasing ways were certainly effective. Meanwhile, Kakashi chuckled as he observed the exchange. He knew Anko was simply having fun at Naruko's expense, but it was amusing nonetheless. "Now then, you do owe me some dango, don't you?" Anko said in a playful yet expectant tone, causing Naruko to nod immediately. "Of course, Anko-chan. Kakashi-ni-san, would you like to come with us?" Naruko asked, hoping her older brother figure would tag along, and more importantly, cover Anko's inevitable mountain of a dango bill. Kakashi, seeing through Naruko's plan, smirked. "Oh no, not this time, Naruko. Sorry, little sister, I've got some business with Hokage-sama. See you later," Kakashi said before vanishing in a puff of smoke, leaving Naruko no chance to protest. Naruko turned back to find Anko tapping her foot impatiently. "Kakashi-ni-san. You trickster," she thought, imaginary anime tears forming as she realized her precious savings were about to disappear. Flashback ends. Needless to say, Naruko and Anko got along exceptionally well. Anko helped her open up and not isolate herself, offering guidance like an older sister. Even Kakashi and Anko's friendship deepened over time. At first, Naruko had assumed Anko was someone cold and indifferent, but after learning about her past, she realized they had more in common than she had ever imagined. Anko was someone who understood her, even if just a little. She also introduced Naruko to foods beyond her beloved ramen. However, when Naruko once dared to say that dango wasn't as good as ramen, well, let's just say she quickly learned never to make that mistake again. Anko remained true to her word and took it upon herself to train Naruko in taijutsu. She introduced Naruko to the hebi style, a technique she had mastered over the years. Under Anko's guidance, Naruko quickly realized that her taijutsu skills needed significant improvement. While she had dedicated ample time to ninjutsu and genjutsu, her taijutsu had been somewhat neglected. For most of the past year, Naruko focused intensely on refining her taijutsu under Anko's instruction and continued to do so. Kakashi occasionally stepped in to assist with ninjutsu training, but the primary focus remained on enhancing her close combat abilities. Anko's training regimen was extremely rigorous, pushing Naruko to her limits. Each day, she would leave the sessions exhausted and covered in minor bruises from sparring, but the experience was invaluable. Despite the challenges, Naruko embraced the training, knowing it was shaping her into a more well-rounded and capable ninja. Naruko had yet to reveal her Sharingan to Anko. It wasn't a matter of distrust. Anko was someone she deeply valued, but she wasn't sure if sharing this secret would change the way Anko saw her. Kakashi had advised her to wait for the right moment to explain everything. Lost in thought, Naruko didn't realize she had already arrived at the academy, only to find she was running late for class. She hurried to the classroom door and knocked. "Come in," a voice called from inside. Naruko stepped in and found herself under the sharp gaze of her instructor, Iruka Umino. He was a man of average height and build, with dark hair tied back in a ponytail, deep-set eyes, and a distinct scar running across the bridge of his nose. He wore the standard Konoha Chunin vest with his headband wrapped securely around his forehead. Iruka was known for his kind and compassionate nature. Though he had once kept his distance from Naruko, over time, he came to see her not as the nine-tailed fox's host but as a bright and kind-hearted individual who deeply cherished her friends. Eventually, their bond grew into something akin to that of siblings. "Naruko, you're 20 minutes late," Iruka stated sternly. Though she was important to him, he never showed favoritism among his students. "Apologies, Iruka-sensei. I was training yesterday and overexerted myself, which made it difficult to wake up on time." "It won't happen again," Naruko admitted honestly. Unlike Kakashi, she didn't believe in making excuses, she preferred to take responsibility for her mistakes. Iruka sighed but nodded, motioning for her to take her seat. However, not without issuing a warning first. While Naruko enjoyed spending time at the academy with her friends, she found the training curriculum frustratingly inadequate. The lessons taught to prepare students for life as Jinan barely scratched the surface of what it truly took to survive as a shinobi. What bothered her the most, however, were the so-called fangirls. Many aspiring kunoichi were more focused on infatuations than actual training, while several boys acted as if they were superior to everyone else, eager to show off rather than hone their skills. These attitudes clashed with what Kakashi and Anko had taught her. True shinobi operated from the shadows, controlled their emotions, and prioritized the mission over personal pride. Because of this, Naruko deliberately concealed her true abilities at the academy. While she was undoubtedly among the strongest of her peers, she preferred to maintain the appearance of an average student. In the real world, titles and ranks held little meaning, strength alone didn't guarantee victory, and even the most powerful shinobi could be defeated by a less skilled yet more cunning opponent. Snapping out of her thoughts, Naruko made her way to her seat beside Kiba and Hinata. Hinata had become a close friend since their time at the academy. Unlike most Hyuga, she was soft-spoken and lacked confidence, weighed down by the immense expectations placed upon her as the clan's heiress. Her father had high hopes for her, but when she struggled to meet them, she was deemed unworthy in favor of her younger sister. To Naruko, the way her clan dismissed her was disheartening. However, after spending time with Naruko and their friends, Hinata had slowly begun to build her confidence. She admired Naruko greatly, though her constant blushing and stammering often left Naruko confused. Naruko wasn't oblivious, she could tell there was more to Hinata's behavior, but she wasn't sure whether it was admiration or something deeper. Either way, she chose not to press the matter, believing that if Hinata had something to say, she would do so when ready. For now, Naruko saw her as a dear friend and nothing more. "Good morning, Naruko-kun," Hinata greeted politely. "Good morning, Hinata-chan." "Oi, wake up, mutt," Naruko said, giving Kiba a light tap on the head, rousing him from his nap. "What was that for, Naruko?" Kiba grumbled, rubbing his head sleepily. "Why are you sleeping so early in the morning, you slacker?" Naruko smirked. 3, 2, 1. Now. Right on cue, Kiba stretched and yawned before speaking a little too loudly. "Man, Iruka-sensei's lessons are so boring. I was just taking a quick nap." Akamaru barked in agreement. The classroom erupted in laughter, but Iruka was less than amused. "Kiba Inuzuka. For that, you will write a report on the history of Konoha, 50 times. Iruka declared, his voice firm. Kiba groaned as the class continued laughing, while Naruko simply grinned, amused by how predictable her friend could be. Kiba turned pale at the thought. The history of Konoha was not something anyone would want to write out 50 times. "Iruka-sensei, I wasn't the only one. Even Shikamaru was dozing off," Kiba pleaded, hoping to get out of trouble. "Troublesome. I wasn't sleeping, Kiba," Shikamaru replied quickly, though he immediately yawned afterward. The class burst into laughter as Shikamaru was caught in the act. Naruko and the others watched in amusement as Iruka scolded both Kiba and Shikamaru for sleeping in class. After a long lecture filled with stern words and reluctant apologies from the two, Iruka finally let them off the hook. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, Iruka prepared to resume the lesson. "All right, now we shall," he began, but before he could finish, the bell rang, signaling the end of class. Shikamaru narrowed his eyes, realizing that Naruko had planned this all along. She had distracted Iruka just long enough for time to run out. "You set this up, didn't you?" Shikamaru asked sharply. "I have no idea what you're talking about, Shika," Naruko replied slyly. "What are you two talking about?" Kuji asked, curious. Even Shino, Kiba, and Hinata seemed intrigued. Shikamaru quickly explained Naruko's little scheme. "Naruko, that wasn't very nice," Hinata said, though there was a small smile on her face. "You tricked me!" Kiba exclaimed. "I do my best," Naruko said with a smirk. "Troublesome blondes," Shikamaru muttered, only to get a light smack on the head from an irritated Ino. "What was that, Shika?" Ino asked, raising an eyebrow. Troublesome. Shikamaru grumbled. Nice one, Ino. That was a solid hit, Naruko said with a laugh. You know it, Naruko, Ino replied, sharing a high five with her. Despite their differences, Ino and Naruko were close friends. Naruko admired Ino's confidence and bold personality, though she didn't always understand Ino's admiration for Sasuke Uchiha. Still, they got along well. Kuji chuckled at the interaction, while Shino observed with a subtle smirk. However, not everyone in the room seemed entertained. Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno remained uninterested. Naruko had tried to befriend Sasuke before, but he had no interest in making friends. He saw himself as superior and looked down on those he deemed unworthy of his time. His obsession with power consumed him, and he rarely socialized. Even his many admirers, who treated him like royalty, didn't seem to matter to him. A part of Naruko was frustrated by this. Sasuke was praised by the villagers simply for being the last Uchiha, though that wasn't entirely true. He received endless admiration, yet he dismissed others as if they were beneath him. It irritated Naruko to no end. Sakura, on the other hand, was intelligent but was also one of Sasuke's most devoted admirers. She constantly sang his praises and looked down on anyone who wasn't him. Because of this, Naruko found her quite annoying and kept her distance. Even Ino's admiration for Sasuke didn't compare to Sakura's. While Ino had a crush, she never put others down the way Sakura did, especially not her own friends. So, as far as Naruko was concerned, Sakura was just another classmate with little talent as a ninja, too focused on Sasuke to be taken seriously. The rest of the day was spent on kunai and shuriken accuracy tests. Kiba managed to hit 8 out of 10 targets, while Shino, Shikamaru, and Kuji each hit 7. Ino and Hinata both scored 6 out of 10. Sasuke, unsurprisingly, hit every target perfectly, earning an eruption of cheers from his many admirers. Most of them were civilians who knew little about him beyond his name. If they truly understood the reality of his family history, Naruko doubted they would be as eager to idolize him. Meanwhile, Sakura had the lowest score in the class, hitting only 4 out of 10 targets. When it was Naruko's turn, she chose to restrain her true abilities. In reality, she had the skill to hit every target with precision, but revealing her full potential at this stage would be unwise. A shinobi should always keep their true strength hidden until the right moment arises. Besides, showcasing her abilities in front of a group of academy students was not her style. Instead, she deliberately hit only 8 out of the 10 kunai targets, making it appear as though she still had room for improvement. Alright, class, we will now begin taijutsu sparring between students, Iruka announced. Each match will continue until one student either concedes or is unable to continue. Any questions? The classroom remained silent, signaling their readiness. The initial matches were between civilian students, making the fights resemble ordinary street brawls rather than structured combat. One of the more anticipated matches was between Kiba and Shino. At first, they seemed evenly matched, exchanging blows skillfully. However, as the battle progressed, Shino began to tire. Sensing an opportunity, Kiba swiftly broke through his defense and managed to land a decisive strike, securing his victory. In another match, Ino faced off against a civilian student. With her sharp reflexes and well-practiced techniques, she quickly overpowered her opponent, winning the match with ease. The match between Shikamaru and Kuji turned out to be quite entertaining. Many had anticipated an intense battle between the two close friends, but they were left disappointed when Shikamaru simply forfeited, claiming it was too much trouble to defeat Kuji. This earned him a scolding from Iruka and an earful from Ino. Alright, the next match is between Hinata Hyuga and Sakura Haruno, announced Iruka. Upon hearing her name, Sakura appeared confident, while Hinata looked nervous. This is my chance to prove myself to Sasuke-kun, thought Sakura, a dreamy look in her eyes. Hinata, on the other hand, lacked confidence. Sensing her anxiety, Naruko walked over and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You've got this, Hinata-chan. I believe in you, Naruko said with an encouraging smile. Hinata's eyes widened in surprise. The person she admired had faith in her. I won't let Naruko-chan down. I will win this match. Hinata resolved, determination replacing her doubt. Go, Hinata. Show her what you've got. Cheered Ino, while others gave her a thumbs up. Shino simply nodded in support. Feeling the warmth of her friend's encouragement, Hinata felt a newfound confidence rise within her. More than anything, she had always wanted recognition, to be acknowledged. Now, she had true friends who believed in her, and she refused to let them down. Iruka signaled the start of the match. Without hesitation, Sakura rushed toward Hinata, attempting a high kick to her face. However, Hinata swiftly caught Sakura's leg. With a precise movement, she struck Sakura in the chest with a quick palm strike before sweeping her right leg, causing her to lose balance and fall to the ground. Without wasting a moment, Hinata delivered a rapid series of gentle fist strikes, effectively sealing most of Sakura's chakra points. The entire class was left in stunned silence. Hinata had always struggled with confidence during spars, often making mistakes that led to easy losses. But today, she was fighting with the resolve of a true shinobi. Naruko watched with a proud smile. She knew Hinata wanted to be acknowledged, and what better way than having her friends believe in her? That's why Naruko had done her best to support her, just like the others had. Sakura, on the other hand, was caught completely off guard. She had assumed victory would come easily, believing Hinata to be weak. Yet now, she found herself overwhelmed, her body aching from the precise strikes that had left her unable to continue. Sakura-san, I have sealed most of your chakra points. I suggest you yield, as you are unable to fight properly, Hinata stated politely, though her tone was firm. Realizing she had no choice, Sakura sighed in defeat and nodded. She slowly made her way back to her seat, limping slightly. You were amazing, Hinata-chan. Naruko praised. To her surprise, Hinata wrapped her in a tight hug. Thank you for believing in me, Naruko-chan. And thank you, everyone, Hinata said, her voice filled with joy. Way to go, Hinata. Kiba cheered enthusiastically, with Akamaru barking in agreement. The rest of the group joined in congratulating Hinata, with Ino being the loudest in praising her for her victory over Sakura. Iruka watched the interaction with a proud smile. It seems I misjudged you, Naruko. Hokage-sama was right, the will of fire burns brightly in all of you, he thought. Alright, the final match of the day is between Naruko Hatake and Sasuke Uchiha, Iruka announced. The crowd fell silent for a brief moment before erupting into cheers, with most of the support coming from Sakura in favor of Sasuke. Naruko, show him what you've got. Kiba called out. Good luck, Naruko-kun, Hinata said warmly. This is troublesome, but I already know you'll win, Shikamaru added with a sigh, while Kuji and Shino nodded in agreement. Naruko. Good luck, but please don't be too rough on Sasuke-kun, Ino whispered just loud enough for Naruko to hear. I understand, Ino-chan. Thank you, Naruko responded with a kind smile. Ino blinked in surprise at the affectionate honorific and felt a faint blush appear on her face. Maybe she's not so bad after all, she thought, still blushing slightly. Naruko and Sasuke stood across from each other, waiting for Iruka's signal to begin their spar. Naruko remained calm and composed, her expression unreadable, while Sasuke exuded confidence. Iruka gave the signal, but even after a few moments, Naruko hadn't moved. She stood still, hands in her pockets, as if unfazed by her opponent. What's the matter, Dobi? Afraid to face me? Sasuke taunted, smirking. Naruko didn't react, maintaining her unshaken demeanor. Kakashi had taught her that battles weren't won by sheer force alone, strategy was key. She knew Sasuke's strength, but his greatest weakness was his pride. By playing on his ego, she could provoke him into making mistakes. With the spectators. Shikamaru, why isn't Naruko moving? Ino asked, puzzled. Psychological warfare, Shikamaru replied simply. Huh? Ino looked even more confused, and the rest of the group leaned in to listen. Naruko prefers to get inside her opponent's head rather than rush in blindly. I've noticed this even when we play shogi, Shikamaru explained. As if she could defeat my Sasuke-kun with such a cheap trick. Sakura scoffed. The group collectively winced at the volume of her voice. Even Ino, who admired Sasuke, found it excessive. But do you think Naruko can actually beat Sasuke? Kuji asked. Naruko is far stronger than she lets on, Shino remarked for the first time. How so? Kiba inquired. You'll see. It's too much trouble to explain, Shikamaru answered lazily. The group sighed in unison, used to Shikamaru's attitude. Back to the battle. Naruko remained still, waiting for Sasuke to make the first move. Sasuke, growing impatient, decided to provoke her further. Looks like your so-called friends were wrong to put their faith in a dropout like you, he sneered. Naruko's eyes narrowed slightly. She could tolerate insults directed at herself, but belittling her friends was crossing the line. I was going to hold back, Sasuke, but it looks like you've left me no choice, she thought. Before anyone could react, Naruko surged forward at incredible speed, delivering a solid punch to Sasuke's stomach. His breath hitched as he staggered back, unable to even register her movements. She followed up with a swift kick to his chest, sending him skidding across the ground. The spectators were stunned. Sasuke, the top student of their class, was being completely overpowered. And Naruko didn't even seem to be exerting herself. Naruko, stop being unfair and hurting Sasuke-kun. Sakura shrieked. The group sighed again, wondering how oblivious she could be. A sudden voice echoed in Naruko's mind, chilling her to the core. Make them pay. Show them your true power. She froze for a split second, realizing the source, it was the Nine Tails. But now was not the time to dwell on it. Sakura, enough. You're being unreasonable, Naruko said coldly. A shiver ran through everyone as her icy blue eyes locked onto Sakura, her tone carrying an unmistakable edge. Is this Naruko's true strength? The onlookers, including Iruka, thought in unison. You're forgetting about me. Sasuke shouted, charging forward with a right hook. Naruko swiftly sidestepped, effortlessly avoiding the attack. She grabbed Sasuke's arm and twisted it slightly, making him wince. Looks like Anko's training is paying off, Naruko thought with a smirk. Shinobi Rule 25, a ninja must always keep their emotions in check. If you let them control you, it will be your downfall, Sasuke, she remarked with a light chuckle. Sasuke yanked his arm free and attempted a leg sweep, but Naruko flipped away gracefully. Why do you hesitate? Show your strength. The voice in her mind grew louder, and Naruko clenched her fists. She had been ignoring it for minutes now, but the Nine Tails was relentless. Enough. She snapped back in her mind. Sasuke lunged again, aiming a kick at her head, but Naruko swiftly blocked it with both hands. She grabbed his leg, spun him in the air, and threw him to the ground. Why am I so weak? Sasuke thought, his body aching from the impact. Is that all? Naruko asked, her voice firm. The crowd fell silent. This was a different Naruko, calm, calculating, and undeniably powerful. You rely too much on your name, Sasuke. You assume you're stronger simply because of your clan. But true strength isn't about heritage, it's about perseverance, Naruko said. Sasuke clenched his fists. He had underestimated her, and now, he was paying the price. The battle wasn't over yet, but one thing was clear, Naruko was far more formidable than anyone had ever realized. Every male in the vicinity flinched as the kick landed on Sasuke's midsection. The atmosphere grew tense as everyone watched in awe and apprehension. This new presence surrounding Naruko carried an unsettling intensity, sending shivers down their spines. Some children had already fainted, while others struggled to stay conscious. Iruka stood frozen, torn between his duty as a teacher and the overwhelming weight of the moment. He wanted to intervene, but something in Naruko's aura held him in place. It was an all too familiar fear, the same dread he had felt during the Nine Tails attack years ago. No. Naruko is not the Nine Tails. She is different. I believe in her, Iruka reassured himself, gripping his fists with determination. Naruko, please stop. Ino shouted, desperation in her voice. Ino's voice pulled Naruko out of her thoughts. What was I doing? I was letting the fox's influence take over. I won't allow that to happen. With renewed determination, Naruko steadied herself, realizing her mistake. Meanwhile, Sasuke was in intense pain, his entire body aching from the barrage of strikes Naruko had landed on him. This feeling. It's just like with Itachi. Why am I still so weak? Sasuke thought bitterly, remembering the night his older brother had annihilated their clan, leaving him powerless. Let's finish this, Naruko declared, her voice firm. With incredible speed, she charged toward Sasuke. Seeing her approach, Sasuke attempted a counterattack, aiming a kick at her chest. Naruko swiftly ducked beneath it and retaliated with a powerful kick to his chin, launching him into the air. Wasting no time, she leapt after him, positioning herself directly below. Twisting her body mid-air, she delivered a precise kick to Sasuke's side. He barely managed to block, but Naruko used the momentum to spin in the opposite direction, landing a forceful punch to his chest. The impact sent Sasuke hurtling toward the ground. Naruko followed through, striking him repeatedly with a series of swift mid-air kicks. The final blow came as she drove her foot into his stomach just as he crashed into the ground, leaving small cracks upon impact. Sasuke coughed and then lost consciousness. It's over, Naruko stated upon seeing Sasuke's condition. Winner, Naruko Uzumaki, Iruka announced, momentarily stunned before rushing forward to check on Sasuke. The training field fell into absolute silence. No one could believe what had just happened. Sasuke Uchiha, the prodigy of the renowned Uchiha clan, had been utterly defeated. The students had mixed reactions. Some of Sasuke's admirers were outraged at Naruko but, after witnessing her strength, chose to remain silent. Even Sakura, usually the first to defend Sasuke, was too stunned to say anything. Some students, however, were filled with awe. Amazing, Hinata whispered in admiration. Way to go, Naruko. That was awesome. Kiba cheered, pumping his fist in the air, accompanied by an enthusiastic bark from Akamaru. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, though a small smirk played on his lips. Just how much was she holding back? He wondered. Naruko felt a twinge of guilt for hitting Sasuke so hard, but remembering his harsh words, she concluded that he had brought it upon himself. As she glanced at her friends, she noted a mixture of emotions, pride, fear, doubt, and concern reflected in their eyes. I need to calm down. Turning toward Ino, Naruko felt a pang of guilt. Ino had asked her not to go too far, yet she had still injured Sasuke badly. She hesitated before speaking. I'm sorry, Ino. I didn't mean to hurt him this much, Naruko admitted regretfully, bracing herself for an angry response. To her surprise, instead of scolding her, Ino pulled her into a tight hug, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. It's okay. I heard what Sasuke said. This isn't your fault, Ino reassured her, holding on tightly. Relieved, Naruko returned the hug. Thanks, Ino-chan. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome blondes, he muttered with a smirk. Oi, Ino, are you sure you like Sasuke? Because it looks like you're more worried about Naruko, Kiba teased. Shut it, dog breath. Ino snapped, smacking Kiba playfully, though a faint blush dusted her cheeks. You did well, Naruko, Shino stated calmly, and she nodded in acknowledgement. Thanks, everyone, for believing in me. I have some things to take care of, I'll see you later, Naruko said before dashing off without waiting for a response. I need to talk to Kakashi Neizan and Gigi. As they watched her leave, The students couldn't help but wonder who Naruko truly was. She was kind and caring one moment, yet a relentless fighter the next. One thing was certain, Naruko was far more powerful than she let on. And there was something hidden within her, something dark. Dear YouTube family, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more exciting videos. Your support means the world. Thank you for watching. Best regards. Anime Dreams.